Okay, so what we're going to do is just like I did with assignment 2, what I'm going to do with this short video, hopefully short, is going to be to show you how we might use your assignment 4. Again, these are just examples. It does not cover the entirety of all the assignment. It's just some key points that I want to show you how it gets used so that you can understand how we expect you to create your assignment 4. Okay, so I'm going to share that that assignment 4. So here we are. We're going to do this demo. Okay, now I want you to notice a couple of things here because we're gonna when we compile this, we're gonna get this big fat error. Okay, we're going to get let me clear that out. Not all that junk. Okay. What we are going to do is we're going to compile this and we're going to get a big compiler error, not because now this is not a club customer, because one of the things that the assignment description says is we don't have a club customer class anymore. We have now just a customer class. The way that we're going to identify what a club customer is no longer by an extra attribute in some other class but what we're going to do is we're going to have a store add a customer by their phone number. So the phone number will be a key value. The will be the key. The value that goes with that key will be the customer object. Okay, so we're going to take this, we're going to add this to a collection. You should know what type of collection that is if you've been following along with the lectures. So the reason why this will now get a compiler error is not because of C, but because the extra parameter is not being used. Okay, so if I try to compile it, I'm going to get this. Hey, you can't do that because you just have a C. I need a customer and a string. I need a customer and a phone number. Okay, so we're going to take this. We'll comment that out. Now we're going to compile it. And we shouldn't get any problems. Okay, no compiler problems. So now let's kind of step through a couple things. Notice that now for the products, right, you might notice that some numbers are missing. They're down here now. Okay, why? Because we're no longer storing the number of products in an inventory with the product object itself. Why? Because, Snickers might not only be at one place, right? I mean, I can buy a Snickers at a A101. I can buy a Snickers at a Migros. I can buy a Snickers at a Beam, right? I don't have to only be at one store, and each of those stores is going to have a different amount of those products. All right. So here we're creating a product without a count for its inventory. Same thing with food and clothing product. So when we go to display this, okay, one other thing as I step through it. Okay, I'm creating my stores, I'm creating my customers, I'm adding my club customer to the Migros store. All right, I'm creating a product, I'm creating a food product, a clothing product. Now when I go to display the clothing product, the toString method now is going to be a little bit different from assignment 2. Now it's going to display this. Okay, the clothing product was shoes at price. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to add to my store 1, my Migros store, I'm going to add 20 computers. I'm going to add to, now before this, there were no computers in store 1. There wasn't anything in store 1's inventory, right? So we added 20. If it's not there, it adds it to the set, okay, or the map or the array list or just whatever data structure you want to use. There is one that makes the most sense, but I'll let that be for you to figure out. Okay. So before this, we didn't have any computers. Now we have 20 computers at Migros. Before now, we don't have any computers at Beam. Now we're going to have 10 computers at Beam. If we were to add inventory, S2 add to inventory, P, computer, 20, right? It would not create another entry in that collection. What it would do is it would just add another 20 computers to what was already there. Okay. I don't think, unfortunately, I don't have an example of that. I neglected to put an example of that. All right. So if we were to add another 20 computers to something that already has computers, it just adds it to that inventory. Okay. All right, so check, it adds to check and make sure whether or not it's there or not before. Okay, so now we add 100 Snickers to Beam. Now we're going to add 28 shoes to Migros. Okay, so so if we wanted to see Migros has how many products, should be 2. All right, Migros has 2 products, the computers and shoes. Okay. All right. How many of a certain product? So here we're going to say, okay, how many of P, how many of computers does Migros have? Okay. And we should get back 20 here. There. Okay. So now if we were to purchase 2 of them, 2 computers from Migros, right? Oh, actually, I do have an example right there. Okay, good. If we were to purchase 2 computers from Migros, we should get the value back of the cost of 2 computers, 2 times 1,000. So it should give us the value. It should display, because this method returns the value 2,000. It should also reduce Migros's inventory of computers by 2. So now Migros should have 18. All right. And now we're going to add to Migros's inventory another 3 computers. Okay. Doesn't display anything. It just does it. Okay. Here, now, how many computers does Migros have now? It had 20. We purchased 2. We added 3. So it should be 21. How many computers does Beam have? 10. Good. Okay. Now, how many Snickers does Migros have? Well, Migros doesn't have any Snickers. This should result in an exception, a product not found exception. Okay. Product not found, because there is none of that. Right? So if we comment this out, okay. Let's continue on where we left off. Okay, so now if we try to purchase from Beam 200 Snickers, we also should get an exception, because there's not this time there's not enough. So even though the product is there, we don't have enough. Okay. All right, so that also generated an exception. All right, so compile, debug. All right, so now let's go. All right, so now this is another big change. We're adding to a cart, we're adding a specific store, a specific product, and a specific count. Okay. Now the reason for this is because, you know, if you go shopping at Migros, you can't add stuff from Beam into your cart at Migros, right? You just because you like some of the things that Beam has, like my wife loves these chocolate covered hazelnuts, right? So she loves those from Beam, but you can't get those at Migros, so we can't add that to our cart at Migros. All right. So here we're going to add a computer, add 2 computers to our cart at Migros. Okay. Now, this is going to possibly, this, if we call the purchase method as I did for this solution, all right, when we go to add something, of Snickers from Migros that doesn't exist in Migros's inventory, there might be an exception down the line, but this method, add to cart, needs to just display a message to our user saying, okay, that I didn't find that, but you can continue shopping. Okay, we don't stop them from shopping just because they asked for something that wasn't there. Okay, all right. So we're adding a clothing product, the shoes, right, to our cart at Migros. Okay, notice these do not return anything. These do not display anything. Okay, so what's the total due from my Migros cart? For my Migros cart, my total due should be for 2 computers and 1 pair of shoes, $2,089. Right, that's my total due. Now, if I wanted to display my receipt, now one of the things that I've added to this also is when you display the receipt, you need to say what store it's for. Okay, so when we display the receipt, all right, so this is the word receipt from the print line, but I display customer receipt from Migros. All right, so you display something that indicates this is the start of their receipt and what is the name of the company. Okay, all right. Now, if they do not have anything in their cart, if their cart is empty for a certain store, we want to generate an exception. Okay, we want to generate a store not found exception. They don't have a receipt for S2. They don't have a receipt for Beam. Okay, so that's going to generate an exception. This is the same exception as before. This one right here that we're about to look at is the same exception as before, where the total due was $20.89, but we didn't pay enough, so it gives us an exception of not enough payment. Okay, same thing as before. Notice though some differences there. Think the customer, did the customer pay before? Anyway, we pass a store. Okay, same thing as up here though. If we were to try to pay for a store that we don't have anything in our cart for that store, we would also get the store not found exception. Okay. All right, so now let's go ahead and pay enough. Let's make it pay enough. Okay, so now the total due is $20.89. They pay $2,100. And what's going to happen? All right. Thank you for your business. We display something, thank you for your business. And then also it returns the change value. How much should the change be? Okay. All right, so now this is going to result in an exception. Why? Because we cleared that cart out. They paid. They don't have anything left in their cart to order. So therefore, they're just going, when we try to get total due or receipt, we're going to get an exception, a store not found exception, same as before. Okay, so basically once they pay, then the store that they pay for kind of just becomes like they never added anything to their cart to start with. Okay, so store not found, this would give me a store not found exception. This would also give me a store not found exception. Okay, so let's skip over that. Okay. Debug and run. Okay, so after they pay, all right. Now here's another difference. What I told you for assignment 2 was we could have, in this situation, we could have 3 separate lines, 2, 1, 10, or you could have a single line, 13. Now I want it to be, it's only one line. Okay, so this shouldn't be a very difficult change. And if you made it work like that for assignment 2, then you've already got this covered. But so what we're going to do is we're going to add to our cart. We're going to add 2 Snickers from Beam, right? Then we're going to add wrong thing. Then we're going to add another Snickers from Beam, which means we should have 3 Snickers from Beam, right? Because remember, the receipt now is going to display what the company is. Okay. Snickers 2 at 3. If I say, okay, now just because I've been given a receipt doesn't mean I've paid yet. My cart's still got those 3 in there. I haven't paid anything. I haven't completed the order. So I realized that, you know what, 3 is not enough. We're in lockdown this weekend, so I really need a lot more Snickers, because if I'm going to survive a full weekend with 3 kids in the house and not able to go outside, I'm going to need some Snickers. Okay, so I'm going to add 10 more to my order. Okay. So now when I display my receipt below here, what's going to happen? Again, only one line because it's Snickers. It's the same product, right? At 2 lira each times 13 gives me a 26, and my total due is 26 lira. And of course, if I were to pay down here, then that would clear out that cart, and Beam would deliver me all my Snickers, and my family will be happy with me for the weekend. Okay. All right. So that completes the example that I posted as part of the assignment description. So go ahead and look that over. Get to work on that early. You do not want to be pushing this until the last minute. We won't be able to accept late submissions on this one because the grades will have to be in by a certain time. So make sure that you get to work on this early rather than late. Okay. So make sure as you read through this, if you have any questions, get them to us sooner rather than later so that we can help with getting you to complete this on time. Okay. I hope this description has been helpful, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Have a good holiday today, and again, look forward to seeing you guys on Wednesday.